Reaching the highest rank on Master Duel is realistically a goal any duelist can reach, given that they have the time, patience, and most importantly of all, a deck that can compete. And thanks to all the resources offered in Master Duel, like the crafting mechanic and the ability to buy gems, building any top meta strategy is easier than ever. But what if that wasn't an option? What if you had to begin completely from scratch? How far can you realistically get? Okay, so the goal is simple. Reach the highest rank in Master Duel with nothing more than 3 copies of a given structure deck and whatever packs I'm able to pick up as the series continues, without ever buying any gems and or using any crafted cards. I've done this challenge in the past before and failed miserably, so I'm looking for a redemption arc. So I hope you're excited because this is Returning to Master Duel. Alright then guys, so welcome to the very first episode of Returning to Master Duel, and this is really exciting for me just because it's been a while since I've played any Master Duel like for real. So it's gonna be exciting to get back into the groove of it, start like learning the whole ladder, like every single good deck that's around, and just getting acclimated with the whole format as a whole again. And as I mentioned in the intro, it's been a minute since I did the series last time, and that didn't go off too well. I got a bit overwhelmed, and DM just was not doing it. But this time around, if you guys aren't familiar, we already have a selected structure deck we're going to begin with. I ended up making a poll a little bit ago for the community to vote on, and by a unanimous decision, the hero structure deck ended up winning. So that's what we're going to be going with today. Now, when it comes to hero, I am not crazy familiar with the deck. Like, don't get me wrong, I faced off against hero quite a few times already, and I have friends that love playing hero, so I have a somewhat of an idea of what the lines are with the deck. And honestly, this structure deck that we're going to be receiving is pretty damn good. You get a lot of the stuff that you would love to get access to in this already with one structure deck alone. Cards like the Ferris is really damn good. We have the Fusion Destiny, which is going to be integral once we get access to TPE, which is going to be a staple of our deck moving forward. Of course, there's cards like Denier, which is a great target for the aforementioned Fusion Destiny. You have the Malicious already. We have Liquid Soldier. There's a lot of really good stuff in here that is going to be cards that we're going to be carrying on throughout the whole series. So I'm really happy to see that. And not only that, but like you have a loaded extra deck as well. So you know what? Things are looking good right off rip. But as I mentioned, I'm not crazy familiar with hero as a whole, so I am hoping to do at least decently well when it comes to this series. So let's go ahead and collect our 3 copies of a structure deck right now. All right, 3 structure decks secured. Okay, so now it's time for me to try and build something out of what I have access to. So give me a minute and let me show you what I ended up building. Alright then guys, so I went ahead and took a few minutes to go ahead and construct some variant of the deck that I felt made the most sense for me, and this is what I ended up coming out with, at least with only 3 copies of the hero structure deck. And the idea is fairly simple, I think. Essentially, I ended up building this deck as a going second strategy, where I'm trying to utilize all my best play starters to go ahead and OTK our opponent as fast as possible. And that's part of the reason why we're playing the ratios that we have. So let's go ahead and break down the deck a bit. Starting off with some of the breaks of the strategy. We have cards like Wing Karibo level 6, we have the Neos, we have the Increase, and finally Denier. All these cards are just primarily engine pieces that we don't particularly want to open up the duel with. These are fairly important for some of the bigger, more important boss cards in the deck, so we need to play them. As for Increase, realistically, I should only be playing 1 copy of it in the deck, but I know my luck with playing my deck, so I definitely see myself opening up Increase more often than not. So as to ensure that we're still able to get the Ferris play going, I'm gonna go ahead and play 2 of them in my deck. Continuing on, we have the 3 copies of Vion alongside 3 copies of Ferris. These are going to be the 2 most important cards in the deck to get our engine going. Vion allows us to go ahead and send important cards to the graveyard, such as Shadow Mist or the Malicious in order to get some crazy plays going, while Ferris goes ahead and does that, but extends it by a lot more. We have a pseudo starter and Blazeman, which on summon searches out polymerization. The cool thing is I also ended up adding a fusion substitute into this deck as well, as a way to go ahead and recover our fusion monsters in the graveyard and give us a nice draw at the same time. This treats itself as poly as well, so I think that the versatility is going to be nice. If not, we'll just replace it with poly once again. Moving on, we have Liquid Soldier. This card is pretty dang great just because not only can this card give us 2 draws, it also has a really awesome ability where it's able to special summon a hero from the graveyard, allowing us to get an extender on the field to go into our link plays or go ahead and do some other cool stuff with it. Of course, we have the Malicious. I should have mentioned this card along with the bricks. Malicious is just fantastic just because of the fact that it gives us so many bodies on field from one card alone, and if you pair it up with the Denier, that shit goes crazy. Finally, we have the 2 Neos cards, and Honest Neos and Brave Neos. As I mentioned, this deck is primarily going second, so we'll have the Honest Neos to do a lot of damage to our opponent, and Spirit of Neos is primarily here in case we have to go first and our opponent goes ahead and has like a fairly prominent board on their field, or if the duel drags on, we have the Spirit of Neos to protect us and goes ahead and gives a search as well. Onto the spell cards, we have a lot of fusion stuff: Poly, Miracle Fusion, Fusion Destiny. These are all going to be really important for going ahead and getting our play started. We have Instant Contact, which is a really awesome card that allows us to go ahead and get some crazy plays with cards like Elemental Hero, Shining Neos, so that's going to be really exciting. And finally, we have Threatening Roar to keep us safe, and Favorite Contact in order to also make our Shining Neos. As a whole, super excited for this. I think this is probably the best I could have done with only 3 structure decks, but let me know in the comment section below. But with that being said, let's jump onto the ladder and see how we do for today's episode. Alright then, so our journey begins with Duel 1. And I'm not gonna lie to you guys, Duel 1, there isn't all that much to talk about. We end up losing the coin toss and are forced to go first. And looking at this hand, it was not that bad. For the most part, we went ahead and did pretty much our standard bread and butter combo. At least we got halfway through our combo when our opponent decided to go ahead and just scoop it up and give us the victory. To be honest with you guys, we were gonna win this duel regardless, just for the very fact that once I took a look at what exactly our opponent was piloting, it was pretty much GG's. And the reason I say that is because our opponent was pretty much just piloting the standard starter deck you get at the beginning of the game. So realistically, this deck was not going to give us any issues. Alright, well, 1 duel down and 9 more to go. We now move on to Duel 2, and once again we lose the coin toss. Again, our opponent forces us to go first, and surprisingly enough, I didn't expect this to happen. So we begin our combos and we go ahead and do our Ferris plays, and halfway through our combo line, our opponent decides to go ahead and scoop it up once again. Man, is this gonna be a trend this whole episode? Well, realistically speaking, this was another duel that we pretty much were guaranteed to win. And the main reason I say that is because, well, our opponent was playing 6 samurais, but the thing is, they weren't really playing the good version of the deck, and yeah, it makes sense why exactly they ended up scooping that duel. But as I mentioned, we are going to be taking all the victories we can get because those come far and few between in this series. Alright, 2 duels down, and you know what, I'm feeling pretty good about ourselves. We now move on to Duel 3, and this time around, it wasn't the cakewalk I was expecting. So we end up losing the coin toss once again, and our opponent decides to go first this time around. So I'm curious to see what exactly they do. And yeah, as soon as I see the fusion deployment and start seeing all these plays, I know we're kind of cooked moving into this. So they proceed to do a bunch of plays with the Fallen Albaz cards, some Despia here and there, and some Branded. And I'm not gonna lie to you guys, realistically speaking, when it comes to the Branded deck or the Albaz deck or whatever it is, exactly this like amalgamation really is, I don't really follow exactly what the deck is trying to accomplish. All I know is that Mirror Jade is annoying to deal with, and they have big old dragons. So they go ahead and finish up all their plays by the end of the turn, and it's our turn to go ahead and try to do something. So we begin the play with the summon of Blazeman to see if we can bait out any interaction out of them. That way we can bring out the Ferris and start going into our whole Ferris plays with the Vision Heroes. We go into Ferris, bringing out Increase and summoning out Vion. With that, Vion gets to be summoned, but we do get to send the malicious to the graveyard before it gets dealt with. Of course, it is too little too late, just for the very fact that every single summon we do, our opponent has some form of answer for it. And realistically speaking, anything we did, our opponent was able to deal with it immediately. So this duel was looking pretty cooked from the beginning, to the point that they end up super polying away our Sunriser. And yeah, as you can imagine, at this point, we are pretty much just doing everything in our power to just stay in this duel. And hopefully I was expecting here to be able to deal with at least the Mirror Jade by attacking into the small monster, but that didn't really happen. We go ahead and set the Threatening Roar, hoping that maybe it does something, but let's be fair, it's not gonna be. So I go ahead and try to stay in the duel, somehow activate the Threatening Roar, let them go through all their plays, and I guess I'm just hoping to draw into some miracle card that doesn't exist in the deck. Our opponent continues through all their plays. They're just, at this point, they're just playing with their food, realistically speaking, because they don't really need all that much to beat us. But you know what? Respect the game nevertheless. We draw for a turn finally, and we just draw into Neos. Realistically, we were cooked regardless, so they negate that, we knew it was gonna happen, and we just accept our doom. Yeah, first two duels, as I mentioned, we had to take all those victories we can get as easily as possible, because we randomly will get challenges like these where it's gonna look pretty bad for us. And taking a look at our opponent's deck, it actually took me a second to realize that they were playing a 60 card variant of this amalgamation right here. And yeah, like, taking a look at this deck, it wasn't gonna happen. We were kind of cooked from the beginning. I just do not know how we're able to beat this deck without some of the better extenders in the strategy that are able to deal with everything here. But nevertheless, you know what? Man, I can't even say we put up a fight just because we got completely cooked. All right, you know what? 2-1 isn't too bad of a start. You know what? Let's get back into the game. We now move into Duel 4. And yeah, after that last duel, I'm a little nervous going into this one. So we end up getting to go first this time around because our opponent forces us to. Remember, with this deck, we always want to go second. And luckily enough, we do have the Ferris that gives us the standard Vision Hero plays. So we go ahead and do all our combo lines, summon out the Liquid Soldier to bring out the Shadow Mist, to go into the Cross Crusader, and we pretty much just start cooking here. Of course, we go ahead and bring out the Sunriser, and it is at this point in the duels that I'm starting to think to myself that maybe the Fusion Substitute isn't as good of an addition as I originally thought, but nevertheless, we push through. And honestly, having no interaction from our opponent has been really nice, just for the very fact that we're able to do all this for free and pretty much just amalgamate all the advantages we can possibly hope to accumulate. And realistically speaking right now, if I was a better duelist, I would try to not extend as much, just for the very fact that we could always get hit with the Nimbiru. But you know what? With this board right here, I feel like we can beat a lot of the really good strategies in the game. And at this point, I realize our opponent is playing Galaxy, but it seems to be not a very good variant of it because they end up tribute summoning for the summon of Galaxy Ice Dragon. So they pretty much go ahead and bring it out, we deal with it, and they bring out the Astral Karibo. And I think, you know what, they're cooked. We activate our trap card, we get rid of their board, and that is just GG's right there. You know what, Hero has quite the power output, and I think it's going to be one of the really fun things going forward with this deck. Taking a look at the opponent's deck, we can see that, yeah, this wasn't the best variant of Galaxy Eyes or Photon or whatever exactly the name of the deck is exactly. But nevertheless, this deck does have the potential of popping off, and it has a lot of really powerful and scary Xyz monsters, so I am glad that we were able to deal with it as easily as we did. 3-1 so far. Let's see if we can end today's episode with a winning record. It's looking pretty good so far. We only got rolled once, and pretty much every other duel we've been just cooking our opponent. Alright then, so we're now at Duel 5, the official halfway point of the episode. And this time around, we actually get to go second, which is a really nice change for our OTK strategy. And look at the hand, it does not look fantastic. And another thing that I realized is that our opponent is playing Blue Eyes, which is an interesting matchup for us, just for the very fact that Blue Eyes is pretty damn big. But the more I looked at this duel, the more I started thinking to myself, am I dueling a bot? Because Either our opponent is just really unfamiliar with Yu-Gi-Oh and just chose Blue Eyes because they think it's cool, or I'm dueling a bot that's activating every single card that is possible to activate because they use Rush Recklessly for no real reason on turn 1. So I'm not entirely sure, but I'm kind of leaning towards bot. Well, we begin our turn, and realistically speaking, we don't really have any good play here besides summoning out the Shadow Mist to go ahead and get rid of the Blue Eyes Time Red Dragon, just for the very fact that I don't really think they can get back into the duel that effectively with just top decking in this scenario. So that's exactly what I ended up doing. I deal with the monster and go ahead and fusion summon into our Sunriser. Sunriser then gives us access to one more copy of the Miracle Fusion, and we're kind of just chilling at this point. And yeah, at this point, I start thinking to myself, yeah, we're probably just dueling a bot, but this is where it got weird because they ended up just scooping at that point. And you know what? I'll let you guys tell me in the comments below. Was that a bot, or was that just a player that wasn't really familiar with what they were doing with the deck? And taking a look at the strategy, this, I kind of lean towards real player, but I don't know. But yeah, realistically speaking, I feel like we were kind of destined to... Well, we could have realistically lost that last duel if they had opened something like Blue Eyes Jet, just because that card is really annoying to deal with. But aside from that, I think we were pretty guaranteed. I mean, I guess maybe Chaos Mac Dragon would have been another thing that could have beat us, but you know what? We take the victory, and so far, we're doing pretty damn good to start the episode. Alright then, going to Duel 6, we are going in with high spirits, just for the fact that we've been on a tirade whenever we don't face off against something really oppressive. Luckily enough, we get to go second this time around, and yeah, it's looking like an easy dub early on because our opponent just goes ahead and sets 2 cards and summons out Toon Warrior. What this tells me is that I am probably just going up against nothing more than a structure deck, which is an easy pickings for this deck. And looking at our opening hand, it's not looking half bad whatsoever. And for turn, we actually end up making the hand even better with the top deck of Fusion Destiny. So yeah, we're about to cook it. Alright, we then begin to play with summoning out the Blazeman to go ahead and add the polymerization. We activate the instant contact to bring out the Flaying Wingman and summon out the Sunriser. With Sunriser, we get access to our Miracle Fusion, and we go ahead and activate the Mally to go ahead and get another monster on field. With Cross Crusader on the field, we can then bring out the Mally, go ahead and tribute it off to get ahead and get a search with the Search of Ferris. And realistically speaking, I didn't have to go as hard as I did here, just for the very fact that we had game on board if we just activated the Fusion Destiny, realistically speaking. I go ahead and style on our opponent for a bit longer, go ahead and use the Liquid Sword to get that extra draws, get another Sunriser, and yeah, realistically at this point, I should just go ahead and stopped already. And looking at that the smashing ground that we popped, we knew it was pretty much GG's right then and there. Taking a look at our opponent's deck, and yeah, exactly as I expected, nothing more than just one of these starter decks, so this was maybe a bot? I'm not sure though, probably speaking, if we're being honest, but you know what, again, we take those easy victories here. Alright then, Duel 7 coming right up, and again, we are in high spirits just for the fact that we've been doing really well so far. And looking at this board, immediately I get to thinking, maybe this is a real player because they have a decorative board and their name looks unique enough, so we're probably dueling someone real. And look at the sleeves, I'm like thinking to myself, is this Blue Eyes? So we go ahead and see what they do. They do nothing more than just set. And thinking right here, I kind of thought to myself, maybe that's one of the stones, but let's see what we do. We go ahead and draw for turn, and our hand isn't looking half bad whatsoever. We have the Blazeman, the Valiant, and a Ferris, so we have a lot we can do right here. So we go ahead and begin with our Vision Hero plays and just do the whole shebang. And I've just gotta say, the Vision Heroes are such a cool inclusion into the hero archetype, and I'm just so happy Konami ended up adding them in. Valiant is a hell of a card, and yeah. You've seen me do these plays already a million times so far, and there's nothing really all that exciting when it comes to this. Think to myself right here, I think that I ended up messing up some of my plays just for the fact that I feel like I could have taken a different direction to go ahead and cook our opponent easier, but I don't know, you tell me. Funny enough, we do end up making 3 Sunrisers, which was more than enough for opponents to say, yeah, I'm cooked. And yeah, we take that victory. It says connection failure, but I feel like they just surrendered because they knew they were going to lose. After the duel, I ended up going ahead and confirming our opponent's deck, and yes, it was exactly as I expected. It was a Blue Eyes deck, and realistically speaking, they had either set a White Stone of Legend, which is a 3 of in the deck, or potentially the White Stone of Ancients, so it makes sense why they would have just passed. Yo, hold on, this deck is kind of goofy. Kazi? They were cooking something devious here. But you know what, that's another victory for us, and you know, we're looking pretty good so far. Alright then, we've now reached Duel 8, and honestly at this point I'm trying to think to myself, we might actually just go 9-1 at this point, and yeah, look at this hand. We get to go second, which is a good thing, but looking at this hand, I'm kind of thinking to myself, this is looking pretty bad. 3 copies of Mally in the opening hand is diabolical. But luckily enough, we do have the Blazeman and the Instant Contact, which does give us some level of extension for our plays. But we kind of have to wait to see what exactly our opponent is playing in order to see what exactly we can do for our turn. So we take a look at what exactly our opponent is playing. They start their plays, and immediately I see the activation of a Horus card, part of the Sarcophagus strategy, and I think to myself, oh boy, this is gonna be rank 8 turbo, and that's not gonna be good for us. But we're thinking to ourselves, you know what? We could probably make something like a Sunriser. Sunriser is able to pop the Sarcophagus cards, and we could probably get back into the duel from there on forward. And we kind of let it happen. But then after that, I see that they're playing Water Turbo, and at that, Kraken Turbo with the Sarcophagus cards. And I'm thinking to myself, I don't know about this one now. Just because Kraken is pretty annoying to deal with, just because of the loops it can create. And the Sarcophagus cards, if you're not able to deal with the Sarcophagus Continuous Spell card, it is an endless amount of monsters that keep on coming to your field to make cards like these. And at this point I'm thinking to myself, man, this top deck better be great. And what we top deck into is Favorite Contact, which is a good card, but not one you really want to top deck into. And taking a look at this board state, I think to myself, okay, what can I do here? They have a Spell Negate, which is luckily enough the worst thing we have to deal with, which isn't that bad. So at the beginning, we go ahead and activate our Instant Contact to hopefully bait out the negate at the Hope Harbinger. But unfortunately for us, they don't take the bait. So thinking to myself, I'm thinking, you know what, maybe they won't negate the activation of Polymerization just because they potentially think we have something like a Fusion Destiny in hand that can be really detrimental to them. And we go ahead and summon out Blazeman. Blazeman goes ahead and searches out the Polymerization, and we go ahead and activate the Polymerization. And of course, right then and there, they activate Horror Harbinger to negate the Poly. And I'm thinking to myself, oh boy, this is not looking all that good for me. So, but after they go ahead and negate the Horror Harbinger, I think to myself, there's another play that I can make. Because I was able to bring out the Flame Wingman, and I have enough monsters to go ahead into a Link 2, I make the Inferno Divisor, which I think to myself, oh, that's so big brain. But then they activate Solemn Judgment. My hope, my one and only hope to go ahead and search out the Neos to then go ahead and activate Favorite Contact to summon out the Shining Wingman is kind of just ruined right then and there, because even if they didn't activate the Solemn Judgment, we were kind of cooked regardless, just for the very fact that they could have activated Solemn Judgment on the activation of Favorite Contact. But nevertheless, it still sucks to see that we got cooked this badly. We had one of the worst opening hands, and we kind of just have to take it on the chin right then and there. We set the Favorite Contact and see, God, is there anything we can do here? And if we're being honest, no, not really. They make SP Little Knight, which is already a horrendous card to deal with. They go ahead and get rid of their own Kraken, so we can't deal with it. And we make a Sunriser, which is a good card, but they had the Forbidden Droplets already. And I'm like, yeah, it's GG's. It's a wrap. It's a wrap. There's no point in doing anything else. And yeah, we just kind of take the loss. We got one more turn for some reason. I don't know quite why. We draw into the Miracle Fusion, which is cool, but like, be honest, we can't do anything here. They have the Kraken, they have the SP Little Knight, and there's just nothing possible for us. We go in the turn and just take the loss because, yeah, look at this board state. We were cooked. I feel like if we had an extra extender, we could have probably done something more, but you know what? It is what it is. Hero is prone to breaking with hands like those. Taking a look at the opponent's deck, and yeah, this looked pretty damn good. They have a really nice little water engine that makes it going into some of these cards really easy. And realistically speaking, I can't be too mad at this. Wow, two SPs, that's pretty nice. Must be nice. But yeah, with the Forbidden Droplets, the Judgment is like, yeah, it was looking pretty bad for us from the beginning. But you know what? It is what it is. It's only 2 losses so far. We took the loss, and it is what it is. 2 more duels to go, so let's get into this. We're now on Duel 9, and with such a devastating loss we had on the last duel, we need to get back into it. And luckily for us, we get to go second. And looking at the hand, it's looking okay. We can work with this, but I start getting second thoughts when I look at the fact that our opponent are playing Trap Tricks, and this deck is pretty damn annoying to play against. Take a look at what they end up doing. They go ahead and summon out the Sarah, which is always really annoying to deal with 3 trap cards set, so I'm in for a good time, I suppose. Luckily for us, they didn't pop off as hard as they usually do with Trap Tricks, so I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, you know what, we have a good chance. Unfortunately, we don't have the greatest hand possible, but we can make this work. We began with the activation of the instant contact to go ahead and get a body on field, and my usual suspect is the elemental hero Flaying Wingman. Funny enough, they go ahead and activate the Floodgate Trap Hole on the elemental hero Flaying Wingman, which is kind of an interesting choice, but I kind of just read this as them trying to trigger the effect of Sarah as fast as possible to get another Trap Tricks monster on their field. And you know what, I don't think it's that bad of a play, but really speaking, this is kind of a blunder just for the fact that we can fuse away a Flaying Wingman if we really wanted to. But we'll take it. As long as we get one interruption out of the way, we are chillin'. We then activate the effect of Ferris, which I should have seen it coming, but I knew that they always played Graveyard Trap Hole, and yes, it came up right there. We take a 2000 damage and our effect is negated, but you know what? That's fine, because we're just going to go ahead and tribute summon the Ferris, because we can do that. I didn't realize the effect of Ferris went off if it was summoned regardless. It could be special or normal summoned. So we get the Ferris out, we activate the effect, and go ahead and go into our vision hero plays. But with the summon of Increase, our opponent then goes ahead and activates Trap Tricks Hole Nightmare, which gets rid of the Increase. But you know what? That's pretty much every single interaction they had available to them. So we're free to play as whatever we want to now. So we activate the Polymerization, activating with the Ferris and the Liquid Soldier, bring out the Sunriser, getting another copy of Miracle Fusion to our collection and drawing 2 cards. And with that, yeah, they saw the writing on the wall and they knew it was GG's from there. And taking a look at the deck, it doesn't look half bad. It, for the most part, looks like a budget variant of the Trap Tricks deck. They have the Ash Blossom and the Max C. I believe Max C is searchable within this strategy, I could be wrong. They have a ton of the trap cards in their deck, and yeah, a lot of annoying stuff in there. The one thing I did notice is the fact that their extra deck isn't completely filled out, so that's probably what was holding them back during that duel. Duels like these can always go against us, so I am happy we ended up getting the victory regardless. Alright then, and with this gets us to our final duel of the episode, and realistically speaking, we can end today's episode with 8-2, a really good record for the first episode. Luckily for us, we get to go second, and our hand, you know what, it could look better, but we can work with this. With a poly and multiple heroes, we can make stuff happen. So let's see what our opponent has. Oh, one singular set card? Oh, this is a free game, isn't it? There's no way they got, what could that possibly be? There's no way that's anything that good. So, with the draw of Blazeman, it's looking like a pretty free duel. The normal summon Blazeman, search out the Polymerization, activate the Polymerization, sending the Neos and the Liquid Soldier to go ahead and bring out the Infernal Wingman. And with Infernal Wingman and the effective Liquid Soldier, we get to, oh boy, draw 3 cards essentially by getting the Favorite Contact and drawing 2 cards off the Liquid Soldier. But there's something problematic here. They went ahead and summoned out a Bestial on us, and that's not awesome. Luckily for us, they only got rid of the Neos, which isn't that big of a deal for the very fact that we do have the Favorite Contact. But there was a play I was gonna go for with Miracle Fusion, but you know what? Whatever. We're still in this duel. We go ahead and continue our plays. We bring out the Sunriser off the effect of the Infernal Wing, activate Miracle Fusion to bring out another copy of Sunriser. With the Fusion Destiny in our hand, we bring out the Dystopia so we can go ahead and deal with that Bestial monster and go ahead and pretty much get game here. But then they flip up Super Poly. Okay, That's a pretty good set, I'm not gonna lie. They go ahead and activate Super Polymerization, fusion away our Sunriser and our Dystopia to bring out Draco's Tapalia. That's not a bad target, I won't lie. Okay, you know what? We're still in this duel. We still got plenty of cards in hand, and we still got plenty of Eccentrics because we are playing Hero. So that's no big deal whatsoever. We bring out another copy of Mally. We go ahead and bring out the Denier. But with Denier, we instead go ahead and recycle back the Dystopia so we can bring out the Dystopia once again. We activate the effect of Dystopia, but it gets negated off the effect of Draco's Tapalia. But that's fine. We can still deal with the Draco's Tapalia off the effect of the Sunriser. And with that, we go ahead and pop it, attack with Dystopia, attack with Sunriser once he's done with that, and finally go ahead and end the duel with the Blazeman boosted up by the Neos, Honest Neos. And wow, what a way to end today's episode. A pretty decisive win. Granted, our opponent seemed to have bricked pretty badly, but you know what? Again, we take those victories. But after taking a look at what our opponent was piloting, yeah, Homeboy bricked badly because they were playing Kashtira, like branded bestial, like they were playing some amalgamation of this variant of the deck with branded the Kashtiras. And realistically speaking, if our opponent had summoned out the Unicorn or the Fenrir, we were cooked. I don't think we could have gotten into this duel just because those two cards individually are just atrocious to go up against. Or if they had opened up like a branded fusion, it could have been really bad for us. But going up against these powerful strategies and having lucky moments like these, I live for those moments. And it could have been way worse for us. But you know what? 8-2, we take that. All right then, and that's pretty much gonna be episode 1. By the end of it, we ended up going 8-2, which in my opinion isn't that bad whatsoever. Especially when you take into account that the second duel that we ended up losing, we had a really bad hand, and our opponent seemed to have pretty much every answer they could have had in order to beat us. So I feel like we could have been in that duel if we had like 1 or 2 more extenders, which would have been better than like the 2 other copies of Malicious in hand. So you know what, all things considered, we did pretty damn good for the first episode. And not to mention the fact that after today's episode, we have received quite a bit of resources for the next episode. So that's going to be looking pretty dang good. Yeah, look at all those gems we're receiving just now. Oh man. Oh, next episode is gonna be a good one. Before you guys do go, I did want to go ahead and clear up something real quick. I will explain it on the next episode as well, but one of the ways that we're going to be going ahead and upgrading the deck is going to be one of 3 different variants. So the first variant that we can do is we can go ahead and upgrade our deck by just going on to and buying 10 separate random master packs, or we can go ahead and do one of these special bundle deals here, right? As you can see right here. And not only that, but get a staple card as well, which is probably the one that I'm going to be leaning towards next episode, just because Lightning Storm would be really nice to get access to. Finally, the last option that we have access to as well is the ability to go ahead and craft 1 card from our archetype, or from a archetype that unlocks a secret pack, and then go ahead and dismantle the card that we crafted, but go ahead and go 10 packs into that dedicated pack. That way that we're not guaranteed to get anything in particular, but we are moving in the right direction. And I feel like that's the best way of going ahead and doing that in a way that still feels fair. So we have 3 different options, and you know what, I'm thinking between the bundle pack and crafting a card, because there's 1 card in particular that would make this deck that much better. And I'm sure that if you're familiar with the hero deck, you probably know what it is. But with that being said, guys, this was an incredible first episode. Any thoughts, suggestions, or anything else of that matter, leave it in the comment section below. And with that being said, I'll catch you on the next one. See you guys.